Welcome to the Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent and Jodibailey. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. Today, Brent and Jodi welcome
pastor, author, and marketplace minister, Mikekai.
And now, Brent and Jodibailey.
And good Monday, everybody. Welcome to Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions. It's Brent Bailey. Hopefully you're having a great day today. It is the beginning of the week, and we're winding down the first day, and so it's good to have you with us today. I have a great guest today. Mikekai is going to be with me, but first, let's head over to the tech booth where Jodi and Preston are going to be joining me right now. Hi, everybody over there. How
everyone.
we doing?
Hey.
All right.
It is Monday.
It is Monday. We got a great show today. Pastor Mikekai is here, and he's going to be talking about excellence.
Yes.
And some of the things that they've been doing over there in the Hawaiian Islands are absolutely incredible.
Yes.
And some of the things that he's going to be sharing with us and teaching us today is amazing. So you want to stick around for Pastor Mikekai coming up in a little bit. But until we do get into him, let's talk about.
So today is National Wyoming Day.
Oh,
Our state,
that's right, State Day.
A state day. It's also known as the Cowboy State.
It is, and I have family that live there.
Yes, you do.
Rock Springs, Wyoming. I've been there
It's really beautiful.
once.
Do
I was
you know?
13.
Can you tell me what national landmark also appeared in a movie?
The Everglades?
In Wyoming?
You know what
Wyoming
it is?
that... it's not Yellowstone. It's the other
No.
one. Yosemite? No.
No, but there is a national monument there that's not. It's not necessarily made out of stone. It's made out of a mountain. Can you name the movie? Okay, I'll tell you the name of the monument that they consider Devil's Tower. What movie was that in?
Devil's Tower is in.
It's in
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
I thought it was in Arizona.
Nope, it's in Wyoming.
That is third. That is. I was wrong on the Arizona. That is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
It is. Nice
Tower.
1970s type
I didn't realize
movie.
that was Wyoming, though.
I didn't
don't know
either,
why.
but when I looked up this stuff, I was like, oh, hey, that looks really familiar. And I looked it up, and it's just
all right.
Wyoming. So, yeah, Devil's Tower's there. So, beautiful, beautiful land there.
All right, moving on.
It is also, Preston, it's Brothers Day. Brent,
It's my
Brothers Day.
That means nothing to me.
Yeah,
All right,
you've
so
got
moving-
brothers. You've
I
got
have,
brothers-in-law.
I do.
You do.
I shouldn't say that because I do have folks that I consider close as brothers. But
Yes.
biologically speaking,
Biologically speaking,
or even family speaking,
yes.
I am an
You do
only
not.
child.
You are your
a
own brother.
second
But Preston, you've got a brother.
I'm my own brother. Preston does have a brother.
He does.
I'm my first child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are the first.
You are the first.
But yeah, so happy Brothers Day, Preston.
Thank you.
And to all of you that have brothers.
Yeah, if you have brothers out there,
Yeah.
happy brother. I feel sorry for my Aunt Sheila. She had one herself and 4 brothers.
Yeah.
So, happy Brothers
Yes.
Day, everybody.
It's also National Scavenger Hunt Day.
Ooh, so
Kind of fun. There's so many.
What does that entail?
That entails,
A treasure map.
listen, it is just about, summer is just around the corner. Make your plans. Maybe start off a small scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
In your neighborhood or in your yard. The weather's great.
Yeah, did you ever go with us, Preston? Do you remember when we used to go geocaching all the time?
Actually, yes. We did it with Luke once.
Did we? I don't remember
Yeah,
doing it
we
with Luke,
did.
but I know that we did do it quite a
down
few.
here.
We did it all the time
did,
here.
yeah.
We did it with Lydia and Marshall
Marshall,
and other folks.
yeah.
Nick went with us a couple times. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of scavenger hunting.
You can
Yeah,
get money
yeah,
out of those,
it
right?
is. I would say
I
that
don't know
is.
about that, but it
Scavenger
was
hunts
fun.
they're a lot of fun.
They are fun.
They are fun.
To go.
Have you ever done one like really a big one around?
I
like,
haven't. I'd like
You
to,
get in
but
the
I
cars
haven't.
and drive to
Aren't
different.
they normally on like lampposts, like on the side of them?
Uh,
or something?
Well, that's geocaching, yes, and it's in weird places
Yeah,
out in the woods
yeah.
or in parking lots. But we used to do it when I was a youth pastor. We would do it and get the high school kids involved that could drive, and they would all ride
Yeah.
together. And so you'd
Lots of
give
fun.
this list, and they'd go all over. It's fun.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
It is also for our food. There are 2 foods. And I don't know exactly what this entails, but Yucatan Shrimp Day.
Is it Yucatan or Yucatan?
I think it's Yucatan.
I think
I'm
depending
gonna
on
go
what
with-
part of the country you're from. That's what
I'm going to go with Yucatan.
Yucatan?
Yeah, because that's what the Yucatan Peninsula.
I'm
right,
gonna go with
right.
Yucatan.
So it's preparing shrimp as those
folks do.
folks do.
would
So,
say Yucatan.
so yeah, go get yourself some
I like
shrimp and do
Yucatan.
that.
All right, what's the
It's
other
also
food
escargot day.
Ooh,
I think
escargot.
Preston's had. We've had
I think I'm
escargot
probably
We
the
have.
only one right
In fact, actually, no, we did it at
at Epcot.
Food and Wine at Epcot.
Yes.
We got escargot at the French
Lord.
Pavilion. It was really
Lots
I've
of
had
garlic.
I've
lots
had-
of garlic.
Yes.
Yeah, I've
It's
had
very
escargot.
good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think the first time I had escargot, it was not the same as what we had at Epcot, but it was. I was like 11
you
or 12.
probably had it like
and
Pretty Woman when it was like the full
Yes,
shell,
it was
and
at,
then
like-
you had to crack them open and all that.
Yes, it was.
Was that
And
at
I was
Paris?
like, why am I eating this? And Jenny, my sister Jenny will remember this too. We went to this real fancy restaurant in Newport Beach, California.
Ooh, and there are some
Somebody- yeah.
fancy ones there.
There really are.
All right.
And
was
I
it
don't remember
called?
anything else. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Was it the Rusty Pelican?
No, because that's not fancy.
Was it a fish?
It
It's
is
not
nice,
fancy.
though. That food's
It
good
is.
there,
We
though.
like the Rusty Pelican there. But
All right.
anyway, so
And now it's time for Preston Tells a Joke. Jody and I's oldest son is spreading his comedy wings, and he's told some good ones. And I've been kind of proud of him, so we're going to continue. I hope that today's measures up. Preston, are you ready?
Yes,
All
I
right.
am.
Tell us a joke.
All right, this one's a little long though.
All right.
Ready?
Do you want me to leave the music playing? Go ahead.
Sure.
All right, go
A
ahead.
guy spots a sign outside a house that says "Talking Dog for Sale." He is so excited. He walks in. He says to the dog, "So, what have you done with your life?" The dog says, "I lived a very full life. I lived in the Alps rescuing avalanche victims after I served my country in Iraq. Now I spend my days reading to the residents of the retirement home." The guy is so surprised that he asks the owner, "Why on earth would you want to get rid of a dog so incredible like this?" The owner says, "'Cause he's a liar. He never did anything like that."
good job.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Because he's a liar.
He's a liar.
I never did any of that.
Good one, babe.
Good job, son. Good job,
Thank
son. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this portion of the show. Let's jump in with our guest. Pastor Mikekai is here, so let's expand your search. My guest today is Mike Kai. He is the founding pastor of a multi-site congregation on the island of Oahu and all through the Hawaiian Islands. He's also the creator of something called the Inspire Network. Each year, this network hosts multiple conferences which empower people from across all of Hawaii and the U.S. mainland, and of course, internationally. In 2019, he also started something called the Influencers Network. I like the sound of that. Aimed at equipping people, business leaders especially, and executives with leadership tools through professional exchange. I'm so excited to have him on the program. We were with him just last week or week before in Hawaii, and he is a dynamite speaker and just an infectious guy when you get around him, and I mean that in a good way. Please welcome Pastor Mike Kai to the program. Hey, Pastor Mike.
You. What's up, Pastor Brent? Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here on your podcast.
Man, I am so honored and humbled that you took the time for us. I know you got a lot going on over there, so thank you for your time today. First of all, how are things going over there? I know we just saw you, but how's everything unwinding after the conference?
Well, I tell you what, the conference was absolutely what we needed. I think all 350 to 400 people that were in the room felt the same way. You held that room so great, along with Bob and your brother-in-law, and you guys make me laugh. Darth Viagara, I just could not. May the fourth be with you.
Yeah, right.
It was incredible. It was incredible. Our whole team. We had the privilege of bringing our team to join with your team, and I think we just got a great combination. They just could not stop talking about it, and it's rubbed off on us. This excellence thing that you guys have, this increase actually, is really something that we've taken to heart. So thank you so much.
Well, I know that you guys added so much to the conference as well. Your team was just dynamite, and it was such an awesome thing to see that. Let's jump in and just talk about some of the things that you've been doing. I know that I know you started with 40 people in your congregation when you first started your church, and now it's a multi-location church that's just reaching thousands of people. And I know these principles probably would cross all kinds of business and all kinds of other things. What is some keys that people really need to, from starting small to going big like that? How do you do that?
Well, it's interesting because when we roll back the tape in 2001, the first thing that I realized, even to this day, I still pinch myself that I get to do what I get to do. I'm thankful. I was a youth pastor for 5 years, and I was afraid that my congregation that I took over would not ever grow beyond my youth group. So the parable of the talents has always been something with me. It's always stuck with me that if you're faithful in the little things, God will put you in charge of many. And so I had to settle it in my heart. I mean, Brent, I had great pastors all around me in churches that were just huge. Pastor Wayne Cordero with New Hope. We had Pastor Art Sepulveda. You might know him with Word of Life. And then we had little old Inspirechurch that used to be called Hope Chapel West Oahu. That was our name when we started in 2001. And so the parable of the talents just stuck with me. I'm a kid from the Big Island, a town of 2,000, graduating class of 120. So I've always been kind of this overcomer fighter, and I think our church took on that nature as well. And so we just did the best we could with what we had, and that meant making it truly the best. You know, the great football coach Pat Hill from the Fresno State Bulldogs, who no longer coaches, something he said in the newspaper just stuck with me. Instead of looking over the fence for greener pastures, because they were trying to recruit him to go coach at USC or maybe at another bigger school, he just said, I'll just make my own grass green. And so I settled in my heart maybe a year after that just to make my own grass green. So I trained us better. I got better training, better equipping, and we just wanted to become the best that we could be and not compare ourselves to anybody else. And maybe that would be one of the reasons why God has blessed us the way he has.
That brings me to a great question. Just to hear you saying the training thing, and I've talked to other business leaders and other pastors that they have a love-hate relationship with the training thing. They know that the training is the right thing, but then they don't know where to really begin. Like how much is too because if you start from the beginning, it's a very slow process. So can you talk about that just a little bit? Like where do we start somebody, I guess is the right frame of mind there.
Well, to get to the church that I had yet to envision in my mind, I mean, I knew that we wanted to grow. I knew I needed to make disciples. And at the end of the day, that's what it was all about. I had to find a model that I could actually relate to. So I went to Willow Creek. I couldn't relate, but amazing. Went to New Hope. Could relate, but too out of our sphere. But I ended up going on a site visit to Hillsong, and I went to Hillsong, Australia. Now, how could I relate to that? I could relate to that because, number one, Pastor Brian just seemed so down to earth. Yeah. Secondly, their worship team, they didn't have horns. They didn't have this incredible wind section. What they had was basically guitars, drums, and bass. And I thought if we could, guitars, drums, and bass, if I can get my guys to see this, if they can see it, then maybe we can do it. It's almost like the same thing that the Queen of Sheba did when she went to go see Solomon. And she walked away in 3 verses. She unpacked 7 different things that, in my mind, she needed to go train her own staff with in the kingdom of Sheba when she returned. And so I had to get them to see it because what I saw had to translate to them, and I couldn't just convert it into my own language. I actually had to take them with me. So I think part of the training or the equipping is if they can see it and actually experience it, then maybe we can emulate that and become who we are called to be after that.
That's so good. Your book is entitled This Doesn't Just Happen, and How Excellence Accelerates Everything. Is this talked about in this process talked about in your book there?
Yeah, that doesn't just happen. That, you know, when someone walks around and says, no, that doesn't just happen. That's not just pixie dust on somebody's life. The increased conference going 40 years, that doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Excellence, and excellence accelerates everything. So in that book, of course, I break it down. I break down how Solomon took 20 years to build what he built after his dad pretty much gave him the blueprints. King Hiram came in and supported him. And then after that 20 years, that's when the Queen of Sheba saw what she saw. So we want to build like Solomon. We want to see like Sheba. But then we all know that Solomon's downfall, that didn't just happen as well.
Yeah.
There was erosion that was going on in the inside and in Solomon's heart. And so the final part of that book is how to build better. So build like Solomon, see like Sheba, and how to build better so that we can hand off a lasting legacy.
What really compelled you to write this book?
Well, I've heard it spoken about in offerings, where people would give offerings and they'd use the Queen of Sheba at a conference, and I've used it before. And then one day I kept teaching it to my staff on excellence, and I've always been captivated by her comments on what she had seen. And finally, on one Sunday morning, weekend service, I actually preached, because I was going through First Kings, I actually preached on that passage, and then it's like the light went off. The light bulb went off on my head, and I said to my congregation, you know what this is? This is a site visit. She took her entourage. She took her whole team with her, because she's not going up by herself on a 3-month journey through the desert. She needed emissaries. She needed envoys. She needed the best of the best who would take care of her and would be able to introduce her properly to the king. But when she came back, I guarantee you that next 3 months shaped the rest of her kingdom. She was already coming from opulence, and she was seeing opulence. So game recognizes game. And I guarantee you what she saw resonated with her. And that's what I shared with my congregation. I finally said, this needs to be a book. And so we had already been, I believe, practicing excellence. I've already been preaching excellence from my experience in restaurants and hotels and the airline industry before I became a pastor. And it became a book. And I wanted to write a business book, not necessarily just a pastoral leadership book. So that's how that happened.
It's incredible. Now, you talk somewhat about culture and how culture really has a big impact on an organization, church, business, what have you.
Yeah.
What are some things that you've done to cultivate culture that you wanted there? Obviously, everything has a culture. Sometimes we don't even want it, but a culture that you wanted.
Brent, it's really interesting because I started off with what I didn't want that gave me what I want. So I would write down, I don't want a stingy church. So I wanted a generous church. So I needed to put generosity into the culture. So I didn't want a gossiping church, because we know that we've heard about gossiping churches and how churches can gossip. I didn't want a gossiping church. So I wanted to put unity into the culture. So I started off with what I didn't want, and it gave me what I want, if that makes sense.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm trying to unpack that a little bit, because that almost seems so easy. I mean, like that's...
I know, right? I know, because I grew up in a culture where it was said that it's caught and not taught. I had an incredible pastor, one of the most prolific church planters that the world has probably not heard of. His name is Ralph Moore. There are 2,700 churches throughout the world since he started his original church in Hermosa Beach, California. It's part of the, the Hope Chapel movement.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Pastor Ralph actually, if he had somebody that could have curated everything that he said, all of his content, I think he would have had a little bit more of a defined culture. We came from a culture that was caught and not necessarily taught. So he didn't have the 7 steps or the 8 principles, but he was always in here for him. And I always thought, this man is brilliant, but there was nobody on his team who was there to curate his content and his culture for him to clearly articulate, this is who we are. So I said, I will not let that happen to us, that I want to make sure that it is caught and that it is taught. So I took the best of both worlds. I took the best of the apostolic mind and the entrepreneurial mind of my pastor and other pastors that became mentors from a distance and nearby. And I took their perspectives and the way that they did what they did. And finally, probably in the last 3 years, we really have begun to curate our content so that we could actually come up with a stronger culture.
I mean, you're reaching inside and pushing buttons for me, because I grew up in that same kind of and served on a large ministry the same way, that it's caught, not taught. What's some good first steps for businesses or organizations or churches to start putting it down? Because we have some great, and I don't want to sound negative, we have some great church leaders who are starting to get into those advanced ages that I don't know that those guys have had somebody really get it down. What are some good first steps for that?
Well, high-level leaders, their minds are going a mile a minute, And when they're done with one content, they move on to the next, and their brain flips like yours, and you're going next. And then you forget what you did. But when we put a staff member that's in charge of that content and says, I'm going to curate that could be repackaged 7 different ways, because I think we came from an older culture that said, oh, if it's not fresh, it's not God. Well, I beg to differ, because if you look at any great worship songs, they sing it in my church 10 times in 1 year, minimum. Why can't I preach a message 10 times in my church, right? Out of 52 weeks, but I won't do it. But what I will do is I will repurpose that content for books, for podcasts, for blogs, for anything, because it's worthy, because of that rhema, that revelation that you get at that moment. It has a shelf life longer than we actually give ourselves credit for. So that's what we're trying to do. And I think the first thing is put somebody in charge of that, who's going to have your heart. I think secondly is look at different ways that you could repurpose it. And then I think the third way is always have a catalog system and a cloud in order for, I'm just dropping C's. I know. This is so good. Yeah. Categorize it in your cloud so that it's easily accessible, and then you can use that. And the other great thing is when you pass it on, see, the secret sauce of what you and I do is if it stays with us and I die with it, it's no good. Yeah. It's no good. It becomes petrified and rancid. I think what we need to do is always being willing to share our content. Of course, I get intellectual property, but at the same time, I want my team to know everything that I know. So I'll coach in real time, and I'll always refer back to my culture. So just this year, instead of having 11 cultural values of the staff of Inspire Church, I took a page out of Netflix and decided that I would have 31, and it's going to grow. And so anybody that's going to join my team from now on is going to go through all these 31, and it's going to weed out who should be here and who shouldn't be here before we even get to the interview process.
Wow. All right. So we want copies of that whenever that
I'll give it to you.
All right. Let's switch gears real quick before we let you go and talk about the Inspire Collective.
Okay, thank you.
This thing is awesome. I love the magazine. In fact, we're going to throw some pictures up on the screen of it with my buddy Dave Martin on the cover right there. I know that this is really something that you've been focused on people in the marketplace. What is? I'm assuming that has part of the heart, but what's the purpose behind Inspire Collective?
Well, the Inspire Collective actually originally started as the Influencers Network, and it was a local brand. So what I wanted to do was influence the people who had influence to change Hawaii. Okay, that's the whole premise. Then in Zechariah chapter 4, I believe, I stumbled upon an obscure passage of scripture that it never jumped out at me before. And it's the part where God says to the people who had returned back to Israel, he says, I want you to take Zechariah, the son of the high priest. And what I want you to do is I want you to take the gold and the silver that you've brought back. I want you to fashion a crown, and I want you to place it on his head. And he will rule as king and priest over Israel, over Jerusalem, and there will be harmony between both roles. That blew my mind. I never saw that before. And then I started to realize a son of a high priest, his son is likely to be a rabbi and be a priest. A son of a king is going to be a prince, and he will be a future king. But never shall the twain meet. They will never become one. A priest will never become a king, and a king will never become a priest. Not in that culture. Yeah. But he said, I'm going to place the crown on him, and he will rule as king and priest, and there will be harmony between both roles. And then I started to realize, well, this has been preached by your father-in-law, Lance Wallnau, Ed Silvoso, but maybe when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and maybe I finally was ready, but the light bulb went off, and I said, my goal is to bring harmony between kings and priests, but also to let kings know you're still a priest, you're also a priest, and the priests to know that they are kings. That's how I started the Influencers Network. So then we wanted to do it with monthly premium content, monthly membership, high quality events in the church, and high quality events in secular. So the secular and sacred. So the secular events were professional music, professional language. You're getting me fired up. Professional language. It was LED lights. It was DJs in the lobby. We're not raising a hallelujah. There's no worship in that event at the hotel lobby or the hotel ballroom. But now we do interviews, or we do a quick TED Talk style
Yeah.
power lunch, in and out in an hour and 30 minutes. I will not go 1 minute over that. We'll get you back to work from the hotel ballroom to where you need to be, from Waikiki to Honolulu. And then when you come back into my building in the church, and that's where the equipping event takes place. This is where we raise a hallelujah. This is where we talk about Jesus. That is designed to equip the influencers to go ahead and do that. And so my good friend, Dr. Sam Chand, saw my local expression and says, Mike, I've got he said, I've got the brains, you got the looks, let's make lots of money.
I can see that.
So the Influencers Network became a global brand called the Inspirecollective, and we're coming out with publishing. We've already published 2 books. One of them is mine. We've got that magazine in your hands, which I need your father-in-law on that magazine cover. 8-page spread on the inside, and professional, high quality, and principles and next steps that the 99% who don't feel called to do what you and I do, but it's just as important that they get equipped with that.
That's so awesome. Mike, next time you talk to Pastor Sam, tell him Brent Bailey says hi. I've known him since I was 9 years old, when he was nobody. Like when Dr. Chan was nobody, he was the camp speaker for us, and I've known him for 41 years now, so it's crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, we're going to put some information up on the screen right now. If you'd like to get follow along with Pastor Mike and some of the things they've got going on here, right there it is. You can follow him on mikekai.tv or thatdoesntjusthappen.com. And you can also go to at mikekai on Instagram, at Mike_Kai on Twitter, and Mike Kai on LinkedIn, and follow along with them. And then that's impressive. LinkedIn, man, live. Then also, if you'd like to,
you should get on it.
I am on it. Aren't we connected?
Okay.
I thought we were friends. I thought, no, maybe we aren't. But anyway, and then if you'd like to subscribe to the magazine or get in some information about Inspire, there it is, inspirecollective.com. And you can tell just by listening to him, the content that you're going to get in here is rich, rich, rich stuff. So, Pastor Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
Brett.
It is always great to see you, and
It
we
is
hope
my honor.
and we can't wait to see you again real soon.
All right, we'll catch up soon, brother. God bless.
All right, have a great rest of your day. All right, that's
Aloha.
Pastor Mike Kai, everybody. And now let's stop for directions. Excellence. It's been defined as the quality of being outstanding or extremely good. The old saying goes that if something is worth doing, then it's worth doing well. Who sets that standard, though? Who sets the standard for what is excellence? At your job, it may be your boss, the CEO, the founder, the board of directors. At your church, it could be the leadership or the volunteers who are pulling off the vision of the church. But for your own personal life, who sets that standard? I know many people will just immediately say, it's me. I set the standard for my life. But what happens if the standard that we're setting for ourselves is too great and our souls are being crushed to try and maintain a fictional goal? That is the great thing about our God. God has already set the standard of what is excellent in and for our lives. But God doesn't leave us hopeless to just fill that void ourselves. God gives us tools and help so that we can achieve that excellence. Those tools are called grace and mercy. Grace and mercy are not so that you can stay mediocre and stop trying. They are tools to help you not be condemned on this lifelong journey that you're taking towards excellence. Excellence is a choice, but it's something that's constantly being chased. No matter how good you are, you're always looking to achieve better. Why? Because that's the way God made us. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 says, whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. How can I do that? Well, with God setting the goal, He'll empower you and help you get there. He won't do it for you, but He'll help you get there. I assure you that He wants you to be excellent, and He made you to be that way. So get up and be excellent today. That's going to wrap it up for the broadcast today. I'm so thankful to Mike Kai and the team at Inspire Collective. Thank you for blazing a trail of excellence and how we can all achieve it for our lives. Thanks again to Jody and Preston for another great job over there at the tech booth making this podcast possible. Until next time, I hope you found what you were looking for as you took the time today to expand your search and stop for directions. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @expandingyoursearch on Facebook and Instagram and @expandingsearch on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We are available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.